What scale should Warhammer the Old World be in? Now, that's a little bit of a redundant question because we actually know what scale it is going to be in. So for those of you who were like clicking this video to find out, it's going to be 28mm. They have confirmed that. Now, when I say 28mm, we all know that Games Workshop probably means something like Heroic 28, which you could maybe even call 32. Whatever, it's generally slightly bigger than 28 just because of scale creep. That's all good. That's been confirmed. They've actually said they want you to be able to use your old armies, therefore they're not obviously going to change the scale. They've actually said they're going to keep the scale the same as 28mm. So what the hell is the point of this video? Well, recently there's been a couple of videos. I watched one from Geek Gaming and Luke, where he was talking about why smaller scale games haven't really taken off. And that obviously sets the cogs thinking in the old brain. And to some extent, I sort of disagree with the people who wanted the game to be smaller. Now, I know you're entitled to your own opinion. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just personally didn't want that to be the case. The reason being, well, you at least get to use all your existing models. That's one of the reasons. But also, I actually sort of like larger scale to some extent because I'm not a great painter, but I really prefer the way that a painted 28mm model looks than, let's say, like a painted 16mm model looks. Now, I'm sure there are some like expert painters out there who can do like amazing, magnificent detail in a 1mm high miniature. We've all seen those little pencil videos where somebody sculpted something in the end of a pencil. Yeah, sure, that ain't me. And while a lot of people say that actually the smaller scale it's easy to look good because you just need to have the paint vaguely in the right area and it'll look fine, I just don't really like the aesthetic. It's as simple as that. I think 28mm is a really good scale. When I see a full army of 28mm, I think that looks really great and cohesive. When I see the same in like 16mm or something like that, I don't have that same kind of feeling, or 8mm or 12mm, whatever the hell the common accepted scales are. I just don't have that same kind of feeling. Sure, it looks decent, but for me, it sort of highlights it being more sort of like a game. I know that might sound a little bit weird, but when I see smaller scale, it's more gamey. And when I see a larger scale, it's sort of more realistic. Now, I know realism is a weird thing to talk about when you've got like, you know, Necron Spider and machines and stuff like that, but that's generally how I feel. Now, I do believe there probably is a place in the market for a smaller scale game to be successful. It sounds like a lot of people sort of want to see that. And yes, you can scale down your own existing games already, but then you've got to convert your, you know, your measuring from inches to whatever hell you're going to use, centimeters or 0.5 of a centimeter, etc. It's going to get a little bit janky, right? So there probably is a market for a popular game in that genre. Now, there already are games in that genre. I think like War Master and stuff like that. That's just from Games Workshop, but I think it's probably phased out. I actually don't know. I just do not follow that scale at all. But I would say, apart from maybe like an historical game, we've not seen a fantasy game, and I'm talking sci-fi and traditional fantasy in that scale, do really well. You guys let me know what the most popular version of that is. I'd actually be curious. So there probably is room for that in the market, probably. I don't really like the fact that tables are 6x4. They're very like cumbersome and require a lot of space. I actually sort of prefer games where you play them on like a 3x3 or something like that. Now, the old world is just not going to be that. It's going to be a traditional 6x4 28mm scale. It's old school. That's sort of the point of it. It's old school, right? But if GW wanted to do a 3x3 small scale proper rank and file game that was on a 3x3 table, I would be happy about it, and I would actually maybe play that over the old world just because of that convenience factor. I doubt it because I actually just prefer the visual effect of a 28mm model, but it would at least catch my eye and I'd be thinking about it. Now, I know I just asked for examples, but the companies that you're going to bring up, they're probably quite small, and if I really wanted to find a game of that in my local community, I would very likely struggle. Hell, just a couple of months back, I was struggling to find a game of Kill Team in the local community, and that game's quite popular. Now, if anything, to me, I said that the game is going to be 28mm and it's probably Heroic 28. Actually, I would be more in favour of them going up a little bit to maybe like 32mm or Heroic 32 or whatever the hell it ends up being, because there's a lot of miniatures required for Warhammer Fantasy the Old World, or at least there used to be, and I'm presuming that's still going to be the case. And a lot of miniatures basically means a big expense. There's way more plastic, for example, in 28mm than there are in the little like 15mm and stuff like that. So presumably it costs more as well. And when each unit's going to be like 20 person like big, in some cases that's like 4 boxes that all cost maybe like £30. So you could very easily be looking at one unit costing you £100. The game could be quite expensive, is what I'm saying. Now, if you scaled up the game, you'd lose that sort of epic rank and file feeling, the one that you definitely get with the smaller scales. You'd lose that if you had less and less models on the table, but maybe that would just be an alternative to what we currently have, which is basically, you know, 28mm but with a lot of models. Maybe you could scale the models up to 32 32mm, but actually have slightly less models, and maybe that would be more cost effective. I don't know about that. I haven't done the maths. I don't know like the volume per sprue and how much it costs to make the sprue and all that kind of stuff. I literally don't know if that's a feasible idea or not. But for me, I'm sort of happy that Warhammer The Old World is going to be sticking at 28mm. Yeah, as I said, it could go a little bit higher and I wouldn't really be too flustered. If anything, I sort of suspect we're going to see a slight scale creep just because Games Workshop want to throw as much detail into these models as they possibly can. We're seeing that with like 40k and all that kind of stuff and Age of Sigmar models. The detail at this point is insane, which on a separate subject sort of bugs me a little bit because I sort of don't want to paint that much detail, but that's another topic for another day. But really, I'm satisfied with 28mm. We know that's confirmed. If you want to scale it down, you can do your own conversion. The problem with doing that is you're not going to get anybody to play with beyond your friends or your family. You know, it's not like everybody's going to agree to print out models at 15mm scale and go and play in a tournament. That seems really unlikely. It has to be a game designed for that scale, which The Old World is not going to be. So while it would have been interesting to see them sort of like experiment, that's not what we're getting. We're getting Warhammer Fantasy, but effectively just remade in a lot of the same ways. Same scale, same square bases, probably a lot of the same rules, even though I do wish that they actually simplify the game a little bit, but we'll not talk about that here either. Let me know your thoughts. Would you have preferred a smaller scale version of the game, or would you actually prefer a bigger scale? Or are you actually just happy that it's 28mm? Do let me know in the comments below. What you should definitely also do is have a most beautiful day, like and subscribe. Goodbye.